So I had the opportunity to actually take this little DJI Neo Neo out to fly, and very first time. All right, so today's the first day. I'm gonna try to take this DJI Neo out for a flight. I did some shooting yesterday, just in the house, because we live in a no-fly zone, so it'll let me fly like in the house. But that's about it. That's about it. So I found myself a little place for me to sit. Monique's coming. She's actually over there somewhere, I think, coming with Lily. But they're currently looking at the ducks because they like the ducks. Anyways, I'm gonna put this stuff on, see how this thing performs. Again, I did try it in the house, flying through some things, so I think I got the hang of it. And really, what I want to see is what the image quality is like, especially in regards to, let's say, the Mini 3 that I have. So we'll see. I think this is way more fun, just in general. But again, the key is if you want to use this to get actual footage, would I recommend this or would I recommend the Mini? Because the Mini 3, kind of the same price point, maybe even a little bit cheaper. All right, I'm gonna get this going, and I'll kind of just talk over it. I'll talk over it once I get home, and then we'll show the footage. When you get this, of course, because they realize it's kind of a new, especially a new controller. Maybe for a lot of us, it's the first time we've actually flown with FPV goggles on, which was the case for me. So there is some tutorials that it kind of runs you through, which I think is great. It just gets us comfortable, I think, more comfortable, that because again, you're flying really blind, right? You're flying really blind. You can just see kind of what that front camera is seeing, and that's really it. So you don't get to see anything around you, which is why if you are flying this, I would say, especially, at the beginning in an area that may have other people kind of around, really important to make sure that you have a spotter with you so that they can kind of let you know what's going around in the environment. Could be something beside you, could be something behind you, somebody behind you that's kind of walking up, because again, you can't see them. So my experience with this so far, again, it's fun, 100%. It's fun. This is a fun little drone to fly. Um, Fairly quick. Again, if you're in the beginner mode, which is kind of sets you at, everything is slowed down. Once you take that beginner mode off, the drone itself becomes just a little bit more, I want to say, exciting. Not like super exciting, but more exciting than if you're flying let's say, a traditional drone. One of the big issues that I had, well, two issues I have with this little thing, and maybe they'll remedy that with the Neo 2. Number one is it has internal storage. So it has about 22 gigs of internal storage that it records to. So no SD cards, no nothing like that, right? So what you have inside is really it. That's all. So you really have to kind of be aware of when you are, recording and not recording, because if not, you end up just chewing through all that space. The other thing that I kind of found, especially like I have the Fly More combo, so it comes with 3 batteries, and 3 batteries is great. Probably gives you, honestly, probably in that, let's say, 15 minutes of flight time ish, really, when you're flying it. Um, One of the biggest issues that I have is you have these 3 batteries, and this has no SD card slot on it, so it's strictly going to be for recording that into the internal memory. So you got 3 cards, but basically, or 3 batteries, sorry, basically 1 battery kind of equals the amount of storage that this has inside it, really. So if you are shooting more than that, yeah, you got two batteries, but you have to bring this back. You have to have, your smartphone or your tablet or something like that to dump the footage off, because if not, you got no more storage on here to be able to record anything to. Now, I wasn't completely aware of that. I wasn't sure how that was going to work. And there may be some settings here that you can play around with. But I ended up putting, of course, a memory card inside the goggles. So the goggles actually have a micro SD card slot so that you can put a memory card in there. And if there's a memory card in there, it records to that card as well. Now, it's not going to be the same level of quality because it is transmitting that from the drone to the goggles and then goggles to card. So the quality that is going to be stored on the internal, my guess, even from what I've seen, it's good, right? Onto the goggles, it's good, but I don't think it's quite as good as, again, the internal. So even if you put a 256 gig card in your goggles, are you getting recording? Yes. Are you getting the same level of quality? I don't think so. And the other part is when it records to the goggles, it records what the goggles see. So all that menus and stats and all the stuff that you and I see inside the goggles is also recorded onto the actual footage. So when you're flying around, um, are you going to be able to use that down the road, like for cinematic type shots or things that you want to put into, other video or things like that? It's great for like training videos or tutorial videos or review videos because you get to see everything that I see inside the goggles. But practically wise, how many people actually buy this drone and that's what they do? Not really. So you got this really big card. Great. Is it super useful? Nah, right? Not necessarily really. So yeah, every, you know, 22 gigs worth of storage, this thing has to come back. And I don't think it told me anywhere that, because I was flying, that storage had filled. And because of that, of course, I was still flying. And now it was only recording to the actual goggles. So that a little bit. So I do hope at some point in time they add a micro SD card to this so we can expand that. That 22 gigs again, great, but not enough. It's just not enough, especially if you have the Fly More pack. You got 3 batteries and not enough storage to complement the amount of flying and recording that can be done with that amount of battery power. And you have to have your phone nearby or your tablet, and you have to have that Wi-Fi connection, et cetera, right? So how fast is that footage going to come down? It all depends on the phone you have, right? So if you have an older phone with this, it may come down a lot slower than if you have a newer phone. Files did come down decently fast, but again, it still stops you, right? It still makes you bring this back in, dump all that, and you have to be aware of it. You just have to be aware of it. Now, some of the other positives, I would think, is that it's pretty durable, I have to say. Again, I was flying this around, and I'm new to this whole looking through the goggles thing. The tutorial, again, really useful because I would have had no idea even how to get this thing up off the ground. But yeah, I put it into a tree 100%. I was trying to see if I could get it between the branches, and simple answer was no. No, I could not. Um, and at one point in time, I don't know if it was a button that I hit or whatever. It was flying nice and straight. It was kind of doing this, and then all of a sudden, something came up in the screen and said switching to normal mode, and I'm like, okay, I don't remember hitting any button, and I couldn't see it, but inside the goggles, you could tell that the footage kind of went off to the side, and it just took off to the side and flew into a hill. Because no like obstacle avoidance or anything on this, right? There's landing sensors for it coming down. So, are you going to crash this? Yeah, chances are really good it's going to be crashed. So, you would have no idea that again. I put this 2 maybe 3 times. I put this into the ground, again a tree and the actual ground, but it held it, right? These little protectors and everything that are under, super good job, really good job. Easy to fly in the house. Again, the first time I flew it, I actually was flying it in the house, nice and slow. I put it in beginner mode, so everything was slowed down. Again, it's just fun. That's what this is. All I can say is it's just a fun little drone. Now the prices of these, of course, have gone up, so you have to pay a little bit more now. And I would hope that you would see the prices of these come down the closer that we get to the Neo 2 being announced and or released. But as of now, is it cool? Yeah. It does have a whole bunch of the selfie modes that you can kind of put into it, right, for doing all this tracking stuff. I didn't get a chance to try those because I actually have one of the hovers, and I think the hover does this exceptionally well. So how does this deal with it? Probably fine, but you know, you're looking at a way more expensive selfie drone here versus this one by itself. Like you can pick these up for probably under 200 bucks if you just want the selfie drone part of it, compared to this, which is, I don't know, $700-800, something like that. The other thing that I did notice, and it's probably for the fact that this is so small, especially if you compare the two, definitely lighter than this is. Single axis gimbal versus a triple axis, right? 3-axis gimbal. So it wasn't windy, like windy. And if I were to have flown the hover, or if I were to have flown my Mini 3, no issues. I'd have zero issues at all with that level of wind. So at one point, you know, I put this up high so I could see how it dealt with it, and you can see it. You can see it in the footage. You could visually see the drone fighting with that wind. Again, the hover, zero issues with that wind. The Mini 3, zero issues with that wind. So if you want this as a cinematic camera, right, for being able to go up high and just be able to get those nice little like panning shots or nice little zoom shots where you can kind of come in and it be really steady, you're probably not going to get them. It's unless there's like no wind at all, right? If you have no wind at all, sure, you should be fine. But again, I didn't have a lot of wind, and it was struggling. It was, you could just see it being like, oh, what's going on? So, um, you know, my thought is, if this is going to be your only drone, and FPV's not really, you know, the primary interest that you have in it, I think it's cool for sure, especially for its price point. You know, it's hard to complain with that price point, right? The fact that you can just get the drone by itself for like 200 bucks. You can get the different fly packages, you know, if you want that little controller like I have, which is the pivot one, right? So it's the, I don't know what they call it, versus the joystick. Where is it? I have it here. This guy, right? If you want this, right, versus the actual controller, with the goggles, when I got it, it was way cheaper, like just over 500 versus it coming in at 700 now. But the fact that you get this and you get the goggles for that 500-ish dollars, again, now I think it's 700, but I would have a feeling, again, as it gets closer to the Neo 2 coming out, you'll see that price drop. Again, it's a fun drone. It's a fun drone. But if I wanted it as my holiday travel shot so I could get high shots, I didn't really care about the FPV side of it, you know, selfie shots, whatever. I want a drone. I want a drone. I would get something like, you know, in the ballpark price-wise, I would get the Mini 3, because you can still get the Mini 3, and I think that's a fantastic little drone for what it is. I think that is worth every penny that you pay for it. Anyways, that's it. That is the Neo after my first drone flying experience. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that are down in the comments that are going to be like, well, you got to get better at flying. Yeah, 100% I do, but everybody has to start, right? We have to start somewhere. Number two is that you're going to crash, guaranteed, especially as a new person. And that's kind of its purpose, right? Again, I'm hoping that the Neo 2 just kind of fixes some of those little minor complaints. Will I be flying this again? 100%. It's just stupid amounts of fun, right? I would like to see at some point in time, maybe in the new one, that you can dive with it, right? At least come down a little bit further. Be nice to get a dive with it, or go straight up, right? You're still limited to about maybe an incline like this, right? With the actual motion controller. But fun. Yeah, it's fun. That's what it is. Just fun. All right, guys. I'll put links down below if you guys want to pick something like this up. And that's it. Leave your comments down below. Let me know if you've flown one, if you've ever been interested in FPV. Is this what you think would be a kind of a cool step into it? And my thought is, this is my thought, when the Neo 2 comes out, if it does, that it's going to be priced similar to this, so you can buy the drone by itself hopefully for in that $200 range. And then because of that, because I have this and I have the goggles already, that the Neo 2 should be compatible with them, which means you can just kind of replace the drone. That's the hope. Anyways, I'm going to leave you guys there. Links down below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys next video. Later.